But today we're starting something a little bit different. We're starting into the new chapter, which is practice. And
What?
we're practicing, baby. Practice. Now, because part of my history, where again, as everybody knows their own personality and what you gravitate towards and what you do easily, we like to do that. I don't want to be the salmon that swims upriver all the time and lays my eggs and dies, like that sucks. That sounds like a horrible way to spend your existence, always swimming upstream. And so for the most part, I had a good mouthpiece. I could connect with people. I'd get my work done. And for me, sales and real estate came easy because of that kind of connection. I was born with that. But there were a lot of things I wasn't born with, and people that aren't quite as, let's say, skilled or talented as I am in talking to people or making people feel easy. If they were all about systems and processes, they could kick my ass, literally kick my ass, because they have a machine and a mechanism, right? Let's see your left hook or your parry, John. Let's parry. So John's a sword fighting expert, actually, right? See what I'm talking about? I'm not going to upset John. But the one quote that I wanted to focus on, and I'll probably butcher it a little bit, was said by Bruce Lee. And it's, I don't fear the man who does 10,000 kicks, different kicks. I fear the man who does one kick 10,000 times. And then I remember Jack Nicholson. I always forget, Nicholas or Nicholson. Who's the golfer? I always get them confused. Nicholson is the golfer? Nicholas, Jack Nicklaus. So it tells you how much golf I watch. But anyway, he practices. And there was some YouTube podcast I was listening to some years back. And all he does while he's at home is he practices his putting. And so with a lot of the championship putts that he had to make, people were astounded. But he's like, I already made this putt so many times. I've already done it so many times. What am I worried about? So what does practice actually do for you? Well, it dispels the unknown. In our office, in our real estate office, for years, we would do role play calls. And it was incredible how many people didn't want to be the participant in the role play call because fear of judgment was always there. I always took the initiative to go because I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? I'm going to get some feedback and I'm going to improve. So I was never worried about that, but a lot of people are worried about the feedback. So Anas, when you were at Whistle before, and you can unmute yourself, were you on the role plays consistently at the office?
I was not consistently at it. At the office or on the phone?
Just didn't matter if it was live. Were you participating often in the role play?
Yeah. If I am on it, I am participating.
Okay. So
if I make it to the role play, I'll participate.
Right. So and that's part of what I want to talk about. It's not just practice that we have to do. We actually have to show up in order to practice. So, what kept you from showing up? Because these are the things that I want to uncover with everybody to see that we're no different in where our stumbling blocks, our hurdles are, or the walls we put in front of us.
Hold me back from showing up sometimes, or even, because there will be so many people at one role play, and I would not get the opportunity to actually role play. And
but were you on the role plays? Were you showing up to be on the calls all the time?
I was not showing up all the time. When I'm showing up, I try to role play, but many times there would be 10 people on the call, but only 2 people are role playing, max 4. Yep. One and only 2 are actually doing the role play. So I find myself sometimes just tuning in just to listen to somebody that's not even on the team, and it was a shit show at some point.
Right.
But eventually, I miss it right now. Now that I'm not on the team, I miss that role play. To be honest, because I don't have a role play partner.
Exactly. And again, these are the things that I want to unpack, because As simply as Anas was telling me that, you know, sometimes I'd be there, sometimes not, sometimes there's too many people, sometimes it's a shit show. I just want you to hear what you're putting out there, because the one thing that I started to work on for myself was I just got rid of all those stories. I got rid of, there were too many people, or I couldn't get on, or I was listening to somebody that wasn't even part of our office. I got rid of all that. So if I screw up, if I mess up and I have to explain it, I don't build a story around it. I just take accountability for it. And I'm not pointing my finger at you by any means. I don't want you to think that. What I'm working to demonstrate is what we do and why we don't do things consistently more often than not. And there's a lot of different reasons, but our motivators are not big enough in order to make it a must, right? Like, what are your musts in life? You must get dressed before you go out or you'll get thrown in jail. So you put clothes on. You must eat at a certain point or your body will break down and you'll be out of energy and everything will change. And your body will take on its own self-defense mechanism and things will start to lack from other parts of the body. Ketosis, in a way, is like starving your body of things. And that's why it goes into fat burning, right? Like, think about how we do, how we show up, what we say, the stories we build around things. And if you guys are, so now that you're also part of the group and us, like, I don't know if all of you are in the Facebook group or checking it regularly, but I have never in my existence ever been consistent at social media posting until I created this Facebook group for our breakthrough mornings, because I am so in love with what we're growing here. And I want to make a point of that. Like, even when I was on my walk this morning, I'm like, oh, this is something I want people to listen to because it's got great stuff to prime my brain. And then when I got home, you know, I did my stretching and all of those things because they keep my body limber. Like, if there are certain things that I start to recognize are having massive improvements in my life, like things are changing, my back's not hurting as much, I feel more limber, I have energy, why the hell wouldn't I do more of it? And the reason is because I'm not always loving myself. I'm not paying attention to me. I'm just not. And it literally comes down to self-focus. Like, we have the time. You can set a million alarms on this thing, right? I have an alarm that goes off 2 minutes before this started. Do I do that for all my client calls and everything like that? No. Do I do it to be here? Yes. So what does that mean? The more I get in alignment with practicing what I preach, doing one kick 10,000 times, being here on this Zoom. Once I finish, I take the Zoom and I put it in Facebook. And then I'm looking at what are my wins for the day or what are my struggles for the day and posting them in the group. And you're going to see that happen regularly. Because once I start doing that in one piece of my life, one of my previous coaches told me, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And it's so true. I can't be the most incredible person to all my friends and then I am the worst person on the planet to my clients. That's not real. And that's what so many of us fail to recognize. Like, when I was talking yesterday about just getting to know who people are, help people work to achieve their goals. Whether you did that or not, or whether you thought about it or not, that's on you, right? I can only lead people to the water and they have to drink. That's on you. The longer you wait, the longer you wait. What I can tell you is if you take action and you start doing these things, everything bleeds from personal to business and business to personal. It just does. There is no difference, right? If I'm trying to feel better about myself, and again, one of the things that I don't know if any of you have heard, you know, but I'm just working to shed some weight. And part of the reason that I wasn't shedding weight is because I would emotionally eat at times when things were struggle, right? And I'm not obese by any means, but in my head, I'm like, I want to be this, but then in here, I'm not following that. So I'm not practicing what I preach in certain areas. But the more that I do these kinds of things and become consistent, I'm becoming more consistent in everything because I'm not letting myself off the hook. So what does your daily routine look like? You will notice me posting at 5 something or 6 a.m. in the mornings when I'm doing my morning routine. Because when people say there is not enough time in the day, it's bullshit. You just have to wake up before most of the world wakes up. Period. There is no and if or but. I know people that wake up at 3:30. You know, I was up at 5:30 this morning. A lot of people go, "Oh my God." And I'm like, dude, try to be the one who's up at 3 or 4. And how bad do you want it? Like on us, you're here and I know you, and part of it is to get your real estate career back on track and doing those things. But what I want everybody to know is I'm going to be a bit of a hard ass, right? Like I don't want people to be here just to be here. I don't. I do not want people just to be here so they can enroll in this and that's it. That's garbage. I've done that. I want you to be here so that you can take these words, understand that for 50 years of my life, you know, up until recently, even though I've had success because of my skill in how I can do things, I have never worked to achieve what I'm really capable of until now, because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. Got sick and tired of just these stupid excuses that I was making for myself. And they're stories. They're just stories I tell myself. Like I told you on us the day that you were trying this out, you already know what to do in real estate. You know all the activities. It's just a matter of do you? And the only thing stopping you is what you're telling yourself. That's it. So as we're working to build our goals, as we're working to build our momentum, as we're actually practicing what we're saying we want to do and get better at and make it more of a routine, so it just feels like breathing, which you don't even know what breathing feels like because you're doing it automatically most of the time. That's what I want you to understand. Set your alarms. Be vulnerable with people. Help people achieve their goals. They'll help you achieve your goals. Practice what you preach. Role play calls are out there, right? You could probably find some groups if you posted in different real estate groups around the country. You could. They exist, right? Nothing's missing. Is what were you going to say, Antoinette? You raised your hand around role play, but
With them.
you'll role play with them. There you go. Look what happened. If you guys just want to chat your personal phone numbers or emails across the board, then this is what I'm talking about. This is a community. And Antoinette, thank you so much for even just stepping up, because a lot of us, again, real estate's your world as well. So maybe it's a little bit easier to just, okay, I'm, you know, I'll role play with you, but maybe it's something else, right? Like my 11-year-old son loves to cook and he wants to, you know, cook with Gordon Ramsay. I'd love if Gordon Ramsay was on the damn call and said, okay, Ashton, I'll take you into my kitchen. I'll teach you how to teach, but right, how to cook. But what I'm saying is all of a sudden, look at what just happened. I brought up one thing, Antoinette volunteered on us. Now there's that part of the story's gone. So we have an opportunity to rewrite the story a second from now, 10 seconds from now. You can change and do whatever the hell you want at any point. My fire and my momentum to show up on all these calls as often as I humanly can. And there will be things that will not allow me to be here, that will be totally outside of my control. But people think I'm crazy showing up Monday to Friday to lead these calls. People think I'm nuts. Other coaches that I know, they think I am crazy for doing this. But I recognize the value that this has for me by showing up and being part of a community, not leading a community. I'm not leading any of you. I'm just part of this. I'm just demonstrating the struggles and the BS and the stories that I had to get rid of, because as I want to grow, I have to practice certain things as well. And I am, and I'm not as afraid. How is that not leading, Steve? Because I might be opening this call, I might be demonstrating things, but you being here also demonstrates to me that you're a leader. I might be doing the talking, but at a certain point, I'm going to open it up. And you guys are going to be doing the talking. And what none of you know, as far as what's to come, is there going to be a point where I'm going to choose different people and they're going to lead the call. I just get to be a student at times. That's coming. because I want all of you to understand what it means to be able to just step up without the, oh my God, what am I going to do? Holy shit, right? I'm going to fail. What do I say? I don't know. How the hell do you talk to anyone? I just want to get people out of their own way so that I'm not the only one that is leading these things. I want all of you to become massive contributors in these things. Because once you start stepping into your leadership shoes, right? You put on your big boy, your big girl pants, and you get out the door. When you finish this call, I don't want you to finish this call as a student. I want you to finish this call as a leader who is literally out there in order to motivate people, show people a better way, and demonstrate what it is that you're pushing to grow into. The only way to do that is to practice. And by you guys showing up consistently, you're practicing consistency. Consistency is the key to everything. Habits, again, equal freedom. Consistency is everything. And when we're not consistent, then we fall behind. And when we fall behind, we start to become anxious. When we become anxious, we're not the same person. When we're not the same person, we make more excuses. And when we make more excuses, those things snowball into more excuses. And then we can get into a pretty dark place. And then we want to shut out the world. And then everything that we know that we are is not what we are in that moment. And that moment, because it's so powerful in that emotion, unfortunately, can make you forget everything that you've already done for the past week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months, your greatest victories. You look at yourself as a zero or a nothing for a moment. And we all know that's bullshit. But at the same token, here we are in this room exposing it so it isn't a story that leads us when we get into a dark place. And we've all been there, every single one of us. First one to say that, I'm part of that group, but I don't need to live there. So I want you to practice these things. I want you to look at the daily accountability, the daily task chart that I sent you, and start working through those things. And if there are questions, hit me up, email me, text me, reach out to Joe. But I want you to start increasing your capacity, not just showing up here, which is a great start, but I want you to start working on the activities, because the more you practice those activities, the more they will become part of your habitual nature, which in turn expands your capacity, which in turn, once you start looking at the rest of the world that really isn't working on expanding their capacity, I mean, you'll be light years ahead of people. I feel I'm in a different spot than so many people on this planet. It doesn't mean that I'm where I should be or where I want to be yet, or that I'm at the top of the heap. And I never want to be at the top. I never do. I always want to be expanding and growing. But some people haven't even showed up to the finish line. They haven't even bought shoes yet for the race. They haven't done anything. So that's why I know I'm way ahead of them, because I'm in the race. I'm looking around. I'm talking to participants. I'm shaking hands. I'm sitting down. I'm having water. I'm commiserating and collaborating and celebrating. And other people are still just watching the world. So I just want you guys to participate in it. And the way to do that is expand your capacity. In order to expand your capacity, you have to practice new things. Once you start practicing these new things, I want you to post in our Facebook group so I can see your victories or I can see your struggles, and then we can all work through getting us to another level. So that's the commitment that I need from you guys. And I'm going to just open it up to one person, which is John. And I want to talk about the sword fighting that you do. And when you remember first having the sword compared to when you were teaching me in a park and you were the teacher, right? And just that experience, right? Who's picking up, rapiers and all that stuff and sabers, right? John is. But what was that experience like? So that, again, something that no one's probably done here. And if they did, it was a plastic sword that they hit, somebody over the head with, but not real steel, right? And there's a rush to that. There was a rush when I was doing that with John, putting the mask on, and, but how you started and where you're at now, I'd love to hear that experience and the practice it took to become as good as you are.
Oh, yeah, no. So, I watched a lot of Highlander as a kid, but the first time I picked up a real sword, it was not anything like what I expected. It was a huge shift. So I've done martial arts in one form or another for most of my life. So the first time I picked up a real sword or practiced with it was in college, and I was very bad. I was very bad. As anybody who's ever picked up a new skill knows, the first step to being kind of good is first you got to kind of suck.
Yep.
And so that was for me. I was very blessed. I had a couple of very high quality teachers, so my period of being really bad was fairly short. But it took a long time for me to get from really bad to kind of good to, oh, that's not embarrassing, to and then I jumped ahead because I was putting in practice and I was doing it several hours every day and using previous experience. That was kind of a parallel. And so I was very fortunate that I went from newbie to consistently winning tournaments in a very short period of time.
And was there calluses that ever developed on your hands from holding the swords? Like, right? And
oh yeah, my hands bled. Absolutely. There were, when we started off, I wasn't using any protective gear. My teacher insisted that Bane was the best teacher. So there were days that I couldn't close my hand. And at the time I was in an office job. And so typing started to look a little bit like this for a while. And it was a severe impact. It changed a lot of things in life. And then I got good and stopped getting hit in the hands.
And what kept you coming back?
The catharsis. There was an emotional release at seeing myself get a little bit better every day against people who had years and in some cases decades of experience on me, and watching that improve as I went was very cathartic. And like you said, there is a rush to picking up a sword and swinging it at another person and knowing that they're not gonna die, right? That's not the kind of guy I'm
right. Maybe you are. So no. What?
You're recording this. I am definitely not.
So what this is a perfect example of what I wanted to demonstrate, right? Just to take something completely random as swordplay, and for most of you, you're probably never going to pick up a sword and go get good at it, but the things that you want to get good at or that you want to improve on, right? Like, I am a master at role-playing calls. I am an absolute master at conversations. I lead the conversation. I wrote a book on communication. I call it conversational direction. People have no idea that I'm leading them through a conversation because I've mastered the art of how to communicate with people. My wife might, object to what I'm saying, but with everybody else, I think I do a pretty damn good job. But all I want you to understand is, when I did my first role play call and it was recorded and I thought I did amazing, and then we opened it up for feedback and the call was good, but everyone's like, more energy, more like, we need to hear some emotion out of you, Steve. You sound like you're dead. And I'm like, what? I had the best call. I handled every objection. And it's just being open to the feedback as well, right? So per what John said out there, go out there and make your hands bleed. Like I said, Anas, man, I've seen what you can do in real estate. You've seen what you can do in real estate, but you don't have to forget what you're capable of and more. And you know the activities. So you just have to rewrite that story, man. And I see you processing right now just by the way your eyes are shifting. I get it. I understand, unless you're reading a text message and I'm just being dumb. But you already have the entire skill set. Just rewrite your story and be powerful and practice these things so that you can get out there. And once you do, we know what it feels like. So I come from a place of contribution and helping my clients. That's what allows me to still do my job, right? Because as I grow this is my big future shift for real. Like, this is where I love to be. And I have people on my team as I continue to grow my team so that I don't have to be as present for the granular stuff. I'm just growing things so that I maintain and I continue to grow my real estate business because of what real estate has done for me. But real estate is not my passion, right? This is my passion. But real estate got me here and I'm grateful to it. And I have to work my ass off. Right? I have to work my ass off. I have to have things fall apart. I have to have my heart broken at times, and understand where I was coming from. And if I just made the process about me, and a commission, then I would lose and the deal would fall apart. And then I would be emotionally connected to the money versus my client and the transaction. And I had to learn that and go through it and practice enough times to realize where I was coming from. So I just want you guys to go out there and just layer all these things, right? Continue to help other people reach their goals. Practice. Practice what? Meeting people, reaching out to different advisors that you want into your life that can feed you referrals. And you're like, well, what do I say to this financial advisor? Figure it out. You're a human being. All they can say is no. And trust me, if you go on Yelp, or there's no more Yellow Pages, but maybe the online Yellow Pages, or just Google wealth managers, trust and estate attorneys, trust and estate litigators, CPAs, insurance brokers, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, maybe you fail with a few, but then once you get your rhythm, there's everybody else. And then you can come back to the ones you failed with and say, you know what, it really sucked when I called you the first time. I didn't have my story straight. I am a kick-ass agent at what I do, and I'd love to take you out for lunch. Just understand your business more. If we never work together, that's okay. I just want to hear about the people that you are working with, the kind of service and expectations you have from your vendor partners. And you see what I'm doing? I'm taking it away. I already told them they don't have to give me business. I just want to know what you're doing because I see you as being successful. Explain that to me. Explain who you open your world up to. And people will tell you that. If someone ever did that to me, I'd go out for lunch with them, right? Regardless, because they humbled themselves. So go out there and kick ass, rewrite your story. You've already got this. You just have to tell yourself and believe it. And even when you fail, it doesn't mean that you have to fall down and just go back into the corner. I tried. No, you didn't. In real estate, and this will be my closing thing, they say it takes 8 to 9 attempts before you get through to one person. Period. 8 to 9 attempts. Even if they pick up, they could have been at work. Can you call me back? I'm at work. Sure. When's the best time? 5:30. Okay, I'll call you at 5:30. Call them at 5:30. They don't pick up the phone. Does that mean you stop? No. You text them and say, hey, I'm sure you got busy. I know it's 5:30. Based on what you told me, I'm reaching out at the time you suggested. Is there a better time today, or does tomorrow work better for you? And then they still ghost you. That's fine. 3 days later, hey, I'm sure things, I'm not big on your priority list at the moment. I get that. But if you're interested in real estate, I'm interested in bringing value into your world. Is there a time today that we can connect, or tomorrow? And just keep doing that. 2 things are going to happen. Either they're going to tell you to fuck, which is okay, because I've been told that enough times that it's not me. They're just not ready, and I'm being consistent, and they're not ready for that. Or they say yes. There's only 2 things that are going to happen. The third one is they keep avoiding you, but like I said, I just keep reaching out anyway. So practice that. Look for rejection. Look for it. That's what's going to help you tweak it so that it's not about rejection in the end anymore. You're going to find your secret sauce.